Poets define love as an emotion that we can't handle, and a feeling that defies logic and overwhelms common sense. But love is much more than that. It is, at its core, a oneness experience, where there is no difference between the lover and the beloved, no difference between the perceiver and the object of perception. And some of the greatest love stories of this world had, at its core, this oneness experience between two individuals. Romeo and Juliet would not be the same if Romeo went after several women. In What Dreams May Come, Robin Williams goes to the depths of hell to find his love. It wouldn't be the same if he had gone after Otto. Moses Mendelssohn's grandfather was not a very good-looking man. He was a hunchback, but he was an astute businessman. In one of his business trips, he visits his friend in a neighboring city. And when he sets his eyes on his friend's daughter, until that time, she was the most beautiful woman he's ever seen. He instantly falls in love with her. Since he was an hunchback, and she was this great beauty whom many men had proposed, she wouldn't even look at him. He spends a week trying to talk to her. After a week, he's about to leave. And he goes up to her to say goodbye. And he says, "Can I share a story with you?" She doesn't look at him. She says, "Yes." He says, "When I was in heaven, God pointed out my love to me. And he said, 'There goes your lover.' And she is going to be a hunchback." I immediately cried out, "Lord, make me a hunchback." Dolores instantly knew that it was her that Mendelssohn was talking about. She immediately puts her arm out and they were together. We know, Rumi said, "When I'm with you, I cannot sleep. When I'm away from you, I think of you all the time." God bless these two insomnias and the difference between the two. Whether it's Shakespeare or Rumi or Plato, they always talk about this oneness in love with one person. In India, the greatest epic of India called the Ramayana, Rama is about to enter manhood. At the time, he gets proposition to prove his valor to marry his lady, not love at the time, Sita. The evening before, Rama accidentally stumbles in the garden in front of Sita. The moment he looks at her, his heart is irrevocably taken from him. He later said he recognized her to be his wife. And she later confessed that she wanted Rama to win her in this great game where the young princess went through this process to win the love. People all over the world fantasize about having this one perfect love. Sometimes, like Napoleon Hill says, love is the greatest force in the world, but people don't find them because of their cynicism and casualness, which is the same phrase repeated by Edgar Cayce, the great Christian mystic. He said, every person is designed to find one ideal love. And there are three things which are lacking, and that is the reason they're not finding this love. One is they take relationships too casually. Number two, there is no common purpose. And number three, they don't know themselves. There's this great lady called Alice Simpson. She failed twice in love. She was married twice. But she did not give up hope. She believed there was one other person out there for her. And unfortunately, her eyes was set on Prince Edward, one of the brothers of King George. And she was just a commoner. And here she was, determined to marry Edward. And yes, ultimately, Prince Edward, he gave up his throne to marry a commoner. Titanic would not be Titanic if, when Jack Dawson cries out, "Rose, Rose, Rose, don't leave my hand," it wouldn't be the same if it had been multiple people. So built into our DNA, built into our DNA is this oneness experience, this oneness. From what does science say? Science says there's this thymus gland right behind our heart, which is responsible for our immunity. And this thymus gland can differentiate between what is ours and what is a foreign body. And yoga places the heart chakra in the thymus gland, which is the center of love, where there is no difference. Once we achieve that center, we don't know the difference between the lover and the beloved. And the same way in the brain, we have something called the mirror neurons. When we look at a love story, we want that to happen to us. Why? Because the mirror neurons, they don't know the difference. We become merged into it. And I'll leave this quote for you from beautiful Rumi, the great Rumi. And he said, "Lovers just don't meet somewhere. They are in each other all along."